Just when you thought I was done, here we are with another video with another microphone review on the Tech Toys and Gaming channel. And today's microphone is another wireless microphone, the Maono PD100W, both wired and wireless. That is correct. To all my tech and gaming fam out there, we have a nice new wireless contender too. Not really, because it's its own brand, right? Contending with the PD200W by Maono, which is also a fantastic cardioid dynamic microphone. What are we getting here other than just a wireless microphone, which I really do love, the wireless PD200W. That has been my daily driver in my other room for work as well as for content creation. Is this gonna bring me anything new that doesn't already do, at least in the software? We only have a USB connection on this bad boy, so we don't get that XLR that the PD200W gets you. If microphones, reviews, and tech, modern tech, new and upcoming audio equipment, studio equipment is your kind of thing, you might want to consider subscribing and following me along on this journey, because soon I'll be jumping off the cliff. You're gonna go with me. What? Let's get right into it. USB out of box. Right now I know you can listen to it, but it is not out of box sound. Let's get to out of box sound right now. This is wireless mode, and I have not made any adjustments. This is all straight out of box, no EQ, just plug it into my PC, install the drivers automatically, which Windows does on its own. And this is the audio quality. Sounds good. And also monitoring is pretty much in real time, maybe a couple of milliseconds of delay, but nothing you can't deal with as you're talking into the microphone like this. Okay, plosives, here we go. Peter Piper picked a pack of Pepsis, popped them, put them into a pitcher profusely. You can hear that capsule and that tinniness of whatever metal is going on inside this microphone. All right, off axis. Peter Piper picked a pack of Pepsis, popped them, poured them into a pitcher. Not a problem off axis, as is the case with most microphones. Sibilance. Caesar ate a salad about a seashore with Susan in a sauna. Heavy on that sibilance. Off axis. Caesar ate a salad about a seashore with Susan in a sauna with soap. Off axis noise. Peter Piper ate a pack of Pepsis. What? You eat a pack of Pepsis, you don't drink it. My room is not treated as most of you out there in the audience. Not everyone, the majority of your rooms out there are not going to be soundproofed and sound treated. So let's be real. So you got to be mindful of the way, how big your room is for one, how close your walls are to you, and how much ricocheting you're going to get. Monolink software. Let's jump into it and see what we got going on. Here we are with the Monolink software for the PD100W. And first and foremost, what I like to do with these microphones when I am running any kind of software supported microphones is I like to go into the software settings and make sure that I'm up to date with my firmware as well as with the software. Haven't ran this in a bit. I always leave it running in the background, so not always checking what version or I'm up to the latest version. Just based off of this, download, update automatically. So it's been updating automatically, and it looks like I have the latest and greatest version. Why do I have OBS in the background? Let's get rid of that. Right here in our desktop, we have our microphone, which looks cool, and it lets you know that it is in wireless mode. Now, if it were wired, you would see a USB cable. Off the rip, not a lot going on right here on this basic page for the Monolink app, right? I'm at 79% battery life, which is cool. And up here in the top right, as soon as you plug your microphone in, this is what you should be doing. You should be clicking your three little lines here and go to firmware update. Yes, and if there is an update pending, make sure you go ahead and do that right now. It looks like I'm on the latest and greatest firmware, so nothing to do there. Fantastic. Okay, so off the rip, you can mute right there. A couple ways to mute. You can actually mute there if you want to mute, and you can mute right here on the microphone. Okay, bottom here left here is for recording your audio, and this will record to your PC, and then you can stop, and then you can just click the upload and save it to somewhere. It saves as a WAV file, so you're limited to WAV. On the right, of course, you can control your gain, right, up and down. Obviously, you can do that, and as you incrementally move your gain down, you see how it kind of jumps. Those are the notches, so it looks like it's jumping in increments of 1, so not too shabby. So you get 20 increments, so 20 notches, and you'll be at the bottom or the top. We have our headphone monitoring audio noise cancellation. Right now I have it on aggressive, only to spare you guys because it's cold up here where I'm at, and I have my H back. What? I have an H on my back. But if I turn it off, You're going to pick up all that noise back there. So don't think that's the microphone. That's my noisy environment. And if I put slight with that, it cuts off most of it. Moderate, maybe moderate should be okay. Keep it on moderate for now. Scenes mode. All right, so in scenes is where you get your awesome EQ settings. Just looking at it off the rip, it looks like the same exact things you can do with the PD200W. This is the original mode. Yep, with some moderate noise cancellation. Sounds okay. Minor delay. Original, there's only one option, but we can switch it over to some of these other EQ versions, right? EQ profiles. One is game, and that will switch it here on a hardware level, and I can hear it through the microphone. So you will hear that play out in your ears if you're monitoring live on your mic. And of course, it's going to be in your stream, you're recording on your PC over the internet. Okay, and this profile sounds okay. Brings down a lot of that low end and a little bit of voice presence here. A little bit of presence boost is what is kind of the fashion name for that. Right, brings that up. A little bit of a sibilance bring down with some low pass filter, and then there's a game too. This will bring up a little bit of the low end. As you can hear, my bass came up, and this sounds a lot better. If you don't have a boomy, bassy voice, you may want to kind of run with a scenario like this. So for all my demasculated men, what? Then we have stream. It takes a few seconds, then it configures it, sets it up, and you get to your sound. And sounds good, nice and bright. Brings up a lot of this vocal presence in higher frequencies, higher end here, which I do like. I think I can rock with this. Cuts down that low end. Okay, great for streaming, I guess, if you're doing a live stream. Sounds pretty rich. Moving on to stream 2. Has a secondary profile. Give it a second. Stream 2. Very similar to stream 1. Sounds a little bit louder, but it's a little bit different. And I notice the color has changed too. It's not yellow like that first piece. Stream 1, stream 2, also very rich. And stream 2, not too much difference. Minor tweaks in stream 2 for this profile right here. Let's go over to sing. Now, sing how? What is that going to do? That is going to introduce some reverb. And it's a lot of reverb. So I guess it's covering with the fact that maybe if you can't sing, it'll just reverb the audio to make it sound better. I don't know how you would sing with that, and it doesn't have an auto-tune feature. Pop version of singing. Next up is folk version of singing. Sounds more or less the same to me. Looking at the profiles, they're kind of the same, except one has a little bit of low pass filter there on the front end of that. But okay, this is basically just adding reverb. Let's go back to original. And if I wanted to create my own custom EQ profile, which I always do, and I kind of suggest if you want your audio to sound as professional or just the way you like, you can choose a profile here and tweak it if you like it. But I like to just create my own. So I'll just create a plus. You can't modify any of these. Doesn't matter which one you're in. These will be restricted as they are hard coded here. You don't want to lose them by deleting them or changing them and you can't get them back. This is just a default. I don't see how you can't get that back. But anyway, we'll have to add, then we'll create one called, I don't know, I can't type with my brain. Where's my keyboard? I'm just going to call it test. You have 15 characters to play with, so no spaces in between. Confirm. Now, when you create that EQ, you'll see that it actually turns white and you can control these buttons, right? You can control this parametric EQ. You can cut off some of that high end if you got too much high end and you sound crazy. Okay, sizzly. I would definitely cut off some of that high end with low pass filter because this microphone has a significant amount of sibilance, at least the way it comes out of box, right? And you got to be careful because sometimes when you cut down that high end, Caesar ate a salad, now it's gone. You lose a little bit of that brightness in your voice. So I would probably push up some of the values that are right after it or right near where your low pass filter ends and bring up the brightness just a bit if you want to get that high end brightness in your voice, right? Not too much, not too low, but just a little bit, right? Just to compensate for the fact that you cut off a lot of high end here. Testing 1, 2, this sounds okay. If you need a presence boost for your voice to get picked up a little higher, you got this middle one here, anywhere in this frequency range here. You kind of see these lines. That's kind of where your voice is going to reside. So depending on which frequency you want to pick up, you can do that. So I'm going to bring that down a little bit. That was just a bit too much. And if you don't have enough bass, first of all, we can cut off some low end rumble, right? And I would just take this. They only give you 5 options that you can't add any more, I guess, dials here. You only have 1 through 5. So let's add some low end there. We can pick up that bass, as much bass in your face as you like to race. What? Bump it all the way up and you can get a nice significant amount of bass. And I don't know how boomy this thing can get, but let's see. Let's get that bass all the way here on the high end. So this is as far back as you can go. I will bump up the bass a little bit and just kill off a little bit of that those lower frequencies, which you don't kind of really want. Change the curve here. We'll change that to, I don't know, 5. Press enter, and we can make it a lot sharper to really dial in the specific frequency you want so that you isolate that frequency and bring that up wherever that is. This is very good for being used to isolate a frequency that is a sound that you don't want in your audio. Noise, for example. And you can just kind of dip out that sound like that by making that super sharp and just cutting off very narrow scope of frequencies. And then we can just kind of drop this down. We can do low shelf if you wanted to do a low shelf, which made that look very crazy, and a high shelf to bring up. Whoa, look at that bass level. That is pretty robust. We don't want that much bass in our face. Now you can really introduce a heavy amount of bass, which this microphone is capable of doing. In case you think it didn't have bass, now you know. Reverberation, you can just kind of just check that checkbox, go along the line, and you get 1 through 10 levels of reverberation. Moving over to lights. And for lights, we can adjust the lights out of box. It comes with a breathing mode, but you can set it to fixed. Right now it's breathing fixed so that its light stays on consistently and doesn't kind of pulsate on and off like that in slow motion. And then you can loop your lights, which will make it loop from one color to the next. Of course, you can kind of create a custom library of lights. You can turn your lights on or off. Pretty cool. A lot more customization. You can make this thing go really bright in the camera if you wanted to, or bring it down really dim. I find that bringing it down a little dim is good for camera purposes, so that way it doesn't get blown out on camera and you can actually see the lights and the colors. So what do I think of this microphone overall? Well, I will say out of the box, it sounds decent enough to get away with just plug and play on a console, computer, wherever you want to plug it into, and get a pretty nice sound. It does provide you with tons of gain, so you don't have to worry about that. Nice sound. USB only. Sad about that. It would have been nice if it was XLR, but it is the brother to the PD100X. What I like about it the most, of course, is its wireless capabilities and the EQ versatility we have with our parametric EQ via the Maono Link app. It's invaluable with a lot of microphones that just don't have companion softwares to make a microphone sound the way you want, the way I made this microphone sound, adding additional bass to it, which it just doesn't have that out of box with its manufacturer DSP. Whatever it's set up with is kind of what you get if you're on a PS5 or you have a way to modify the EQ on a PS5 or Xbox. PC gaming and streaming, podcasting, this can be a nice microphone for podcasting. If you don't like the RGB, sometimes it's distracting, you can turn that off. So that's not a problem. Decent on the Plosives Sibilance. It has a bit of sibilance, so you can, again, change that with the EQ modifications in the software. I probably wouldn't rock it like this on a stand. I will put it more on a boom arm and use it like that. But I just wanted to show it because this is everything it comes with. Wireless feature. The delay is a little, you can hear it a little bit, but it's not so much that when I play back my recording, that you can even see that there's like a out of sync capture of my audio and video. People don't value the quality of their pop filters. Yes, they're little windscreens. This one here is pretty thick. Yep. And it's going to do a great job at mitigating a pretty sensitive dynamic microphone here with plosives. Yeah, my microphone just clips up the wazoo. What? And it's thick on the front, thick enough that you get some mitigation of your sibilance and plosives. Mono to mix button. It's pretty muffled. I would say that It's good, and it's not as bad as the RGB button. I mean, the noise cancellation button here, right? That is pretty. I just turned it off. You can hear the click, and for the power button or the RGB button, a little softer. So the loudest button on this microphone is the noise cancellation button. A lot of handling noise due to the nature of this microphone. It's a little bit sensitive, and the plastic things. But outside of that, fairly decent microphone for the price. That's really the big takeaway here. Good microphone out of box. Excellent when you apply some EQ. That's the way Maono's doing it these days. Thanks to their really good and constantly improving software. That's kind of a matter of opinion. Some people like the old stuff, which is very basic. Now it's starting to get a little bit more advanced. You get into the DM40, you got AI capabilities and voice changers and that sort. So Maono's out here doing a lot of stuff. So I always kind of just put Maono on that higher pedestal. You have to get out of that mindset that just because it's not $500, that it's not good. Do they need improvement? Everybody needs improvement. $1 trillion company like Apple, do they need improvements? Yes. So, and how much money they're making in comparison to something like this? Stop it. Get out of that expensive mindset that more money means more value. Not always the case. All right, I'm done rambling. Get out of my face. I'll see you in the next video. Later.